Today, let's talk a little bit about ketamine. Now, ketamine is not really a traditional psychedelic. It's used primarily in anesthesia, but is now making its way into the treatment space for conditions that psychedelics like psilocybin and MDMA are starting to become popular for. So it's definitely relevant in the conversation and can offer a lot of benefit, including long-term pain management. But in terms of the strict, old school psychedelics, it really doesn't fit exactly into the family of plant medicines because it's a synthetically derived compound, but it does have some very interesting crossover psychedelic-like effects. And though I have limited experience with it, I have had a couple of very positive journeys in combination with MDMA. I want to talk about one of these experiences today and then discuss a little bit about how I think that experience really had a general positive effect that I think any kind of psychedelic journey potentially could have. This one did have for me, so it's one that I think I'd like to pass on because it has some value. So again, as I've talked about a little before, the combination of a couple of psychedelics can have really positive impact together, the synergy of both of them. And I think, as I've said before, MDMA is sort of the heart opener, can relax you, kind of fill you with a love feeling and put you in the space that is really beneficial to enter a psychedelic experience. This one followed that pattern, started with some MDMA, and then layered that with ketamine. For me, the ketamine experience really kind of like the anesthetic nature of it, provides a little bit of a dull, sort of a numbing. Don't really get the typical visuals and the kind of introspective thought that other medicines, plant medicines, offer in the journey. So this one, when I was in the middle of this journey, I was seeing like a starscape. It was really interesting in that, like if you've ever seen a time-lapse video where someone would put out a camera like under a beautiful night sky and a very clear sky where you see all the stars. And then the next day you would come back and fast forward that and you would see sort of the starscape just panning and just moving across the landscape, like stars just moving back and forth. It was a really interesting observation to have. It was kind of relaxing. But basically, as I settled into the journey, I realized that it wasn't the typical psychedelic experience. But the good thing about that was that since I wasn't really preoccupied with any of the visuals that were going on or some of the thoughts that come up in typical experiences, this provided me the ability to just sit back, let the medicine work, and just concentrate on healing. I decided that I was just going to sit back and just heal myself. And the ketamine really did provide a very good base to be able to just concentrate, not be overwhelmed like you could be in a typical journey, and just to be able to take notice that I was in a very relaxed state. Kind of felt like the twilight state between your waking normal state and a sleep state. And this provided a really good background to be able to just relax and not be preoccupied because not too much else was going on. And so the thoughts that I had were just sit back, relax your body, heal yourself. And what started to happen was a healing light started to wash over me, and it was just very comforting. And the only thought I had was just relax and bask in the healing light. And that's what I did. After the journey, I took note that it actually was a few hours in total because we had a few different doses of ketamine. And so the overall time actually was quite a lengthy time of multiple hours. But of course, when you're in the journey experience, you really do lose track of the 3D time that we all experience in just everyday movement and the normal passage of time. So essentially this light started to wash over me, and I started to think to myself, just heal your body, let this healing experience happen, and everything in your body, every cell from the head to your toes, everything was just covered in this robe of light and just letting the healing wash over and relax in peace. This restfulness was such an enjoyable experience because all normal thoughts just faded away. And what came over me was I had this feeling like I was an ancient pharaoh. This was just really happening in my mind. But the thought that came to me was relax like you're not going anywhere for a long time. And I had this feeling that I was this ancient pharaoh in a tomb. And I just pictured myself, I envisioned myself just having crossed arms like you would typically see like in a mummy in a tomb. And the thought I had was, you're gonna just be locked away in this tomb. Nothing is going to get to you. You're at total peace for eternity. And that's the concept that I took into the journey. And I just let the healing, happen. And it was such a peace that was just wonderful. And now after the experience, I wanted to really focus on two things. One was I had been experiencing some significant pains. As you get, older, you get all these aches and pains in the body. And from the next day after this journey, I did not have this pain. Specifically, I had this left knee pain where I could only do like a knee bend to a certain extent. And for whatever reason, after this, until this day, and I'm now months past this particular one, I have not had any pain. And this feeling of just let the healing wash over you, that's what happened to me. And I can just report from a subjective standpoint that my body has felt so energized and almost like reborn, where I have this flexibility and range of motion that I have not had in a long time. This is the point that I want to take on to the second point that I wanted to make, which is in a more general way in the more overall psychedelic experience, is this recharge. So while my body was recharged in this experience, no doubt, the typical psychedelic experience for me is a soul recharge. And that's really paramount or just as important to the physical healing that I really believe took place during this experience. But generally, out of any psychedelic that I do, whatever the plant medicine experience is, one thing that is common, without regard to whatever the particular lessons that are learned or the introspection or certainly the visuals, all of those things can be immensely different. And I talk about all these different things in videos, and the experiences are so varied. But one thing that is really common that I wanted to highlight is this sort of relaxation and recharge of the soul. And as soon as I'll speak for myself, get into the experience, I know the space now because, I've had journeys of many kinds, many different medicines. But the one thing that really is sort of sacred to me that runs in really common throughout all of my experiences, that when I recognize I'm getting into the space, I get this sense of that my soul is in its playground now, that I have left the physical body. And even if I'm consciously aware that I do have a body and that my body is at rest, I'm able to let my mind go to a place where I just let it run free, almost like your mind is in a free field or in a playground, and it's completely unbounded and unlimited. I can fly anywhere, do anything. And it almost feels physical in the sense that my brain sort of takes a vacation, and there's no thought that has anything to do with the regular world, anything that's going on day to day, no concerns, no worries, there are no problems. I'm just able to allow everything to relax, let the journey take over, and just experience peace. And while I'm talking about the physical peace that I experienced in this journey, which I certainly did, and I felt this recovery, the really important thing is that your soul gets a rest, where you can sort of take a break from your life and feel a peace wash over, knowing that there's so much more to the 3D in this particular life, that there's plenty of time to come back into the real world, and I'll come back into my body and I'll be able to deal with all of the 3D concerns, everything that happens to us in the day-to-day. But this is a time just to relax. And as I go back to this, crossover, because there's such a tie between your physical body and your spiritual body or your energetic body, and both have to be in alignment. And the psychedelic experience allows both things to happen, where you can have this physical relaxation, but also feel this unbelievable, immense relaxation of your soul and just let everything relax and recharge and reset. When I came out of this journey, as I was saying that I felt like I was in this tomb, I felt like I had a rest for 10,000 years, that I was buried away without a care in the world for what felt like an eternity. And I made this comment to the people I was with that I felt like I took a nap for 10,000 years. And that's, I think, what had a lot to do with my physical body being able to recover like almost instantly, that I've had this pain that has just dissipated and has been long lasting now for months. But just as important is when you get into the experience, you feel like, and when you come out of it, you feel like you're at rest, like your batteries have been recharged. And so in addition to the physical, mentally now, I am able to get back into my regular body and then get back into my life and be able to tackle the normal things that happen, but with this recharge. Like you feel like your soul has been recharged and now you're now ready to take on all of the hardships and all of the things that happen in the 3D, but with this renewed energy, because I had the experience that allowed me to reconnect with my soul, with my spirit body, with my energetic body. And I'm now able to use these new batteries that I have to go out and go back to work and go back to everything that goes on, but with this excitement now because I have stepped out of it and I have been renewed and able to take on whatever is coming. And so that is in and of itself is such an empowering experience that even if you have a psychedelic journey where nothing really happens, and that does occur from time to time, where there's nothing really profound that you might take out of it, no real lesson, you're not seeing typical visuals that might be really impactful, and I might not have some of the great stories that I'm able to relay here on this channel. But what's common is, what I do typically always get is this sense of rest and recharge and excitement to be able to take on whatever else is coming. And so that is reason enough that from time to time, months go by and you feel like, I need to go check back into myself, reconnect with my energetic self and get that recharge so that I'm able then just to take on life again. And so that is, reason enough to be able to want to go back into a journey so that you can heal yourself, reconnect the spirit and your body, and you're able to tack the day and whatever else is coming. Psychedelic lesson of the day. Have a good one.